The rifle is already in position when you arrive on the rooftop. That's the first rule of this job. You never carry a weapon through a hotel lobby. You never ride an elevator with a case that might raise questions. The rifle is already there, pre-positioned by a team that was here 6 hours before you. A team you will never meet, never speak to, never acknowledge. They did their job. Now, you do yours. You're in Phoenix. It's 4:17 in the morning. The president arrives in 31 hours. You have that long to become part of this building, part of this skyline, part of the architecture of a city that has no idea you exist. You check the rifle first, not because you don't trust the team that placed it, but because trusting anyone completely is how people in your profession end up dead or disgraced. It's a bolt-action chambered in .300 Winchester Magnum, suppressed, scoped with a ballistic computer that costs more than the car you drive. The bipod is set to the exact height you specified in the planning meeting 8 days ago. The rounds are match grade, hand-loaded, checked 3 times for consistency. You load 5. You will not fire 5. If you fire 1, something has already gone catastrophically wrong. You settle in. The hide is a maintenance closet on the 34th floor of a building that doesn't officially house anyone with a rifle today. The window has been modified. A panel replaced with glass that looks identical to the rest of the facade, but cuts ballistically. Different, clean, no distortion, no deflection. Your field of fire covers a 340m stretch of motorcade route and a podium where the president will stand tomorrow afternoon for exactly 9 minutes. 9 minutes is a long time in your world. 9 minutes is an eternity. You're not Secret Service. You need to understand that first. The Secret Service agents you see on TV, the ones in sunglasses running beside the limousine, those are the protective detail. Reactive. They respond to threats. You are something different. You work for the counter-sniper team, the CS unit, officially designated as a specialized support element of the uniformed division. Most Americans don't know you exist. They see the guys in the suits. They don't see you on the rooftops. You prefer it that way. The CS team was stood up after the attempt on Reagan in 1981. Before that, presidential protection was mostly about bodies around the principal, bodies between the principal and a crowd. After Hinckley, the service realized that close-in protection couldn't stop a determined rifleman from 200 yards out. You needed eyes on the elevation. You needed shooters who could reach out and touch someone before they touched the president. So, they built the team. Active-duty military snipers, mostly Marines, Scout snipers, Army Special Operations, a few from Navy units that don't get named in press releases. You came up through the Marine Corps, Scout Sniper School at Quantico, then a deployment cycle that took you to places you can't put on a resume. When the service tapped you, it felt like retirement. You were wrong about that. The first 12 hours are the hardest and the most boring at the same time. You cannot move. The hide has been established. The moment you start fidgeting, shifting position, standing up to stretch, you become visible in ways you weren't before. Buildings have surveillance. Cities have cameras. Even the roof across the street, the one that looks empty, probably has someone watching. Not a threat, just another agency. Local PD counter-surveillance, FBI, advance team, maybe DSS if there's a foreign dignitary in town that week. Everyone is watching everyone. You are a ghost among ghosts, and ghosts that move get noticed. Your spotter joins you at 4:41 a.m. He comes up the service stairs alone, carrying a laptop bag and wearing maintenance coveralls. His name is not important. You've worked with him for 3 years. He knows your breathing patterns. You know his. He sets up his gear beside you. A spotting scope, a laser rangefinder, an encrypted radio that ties into the command post 6 blocks away. He doesn't say hello. You don't either. There's a rhythm to these hours. Talking breaks it. He starts the log. Every 10 minutes for the next 31 hours, he will record conditions, temperature, humidity, wind speed at 3 different elevations, atmospheric pressure. The data goes into your ballistic solver. A shot at 340 m in desert air at 4 a.m. is a completely different shot at the same distance at 2 p.m. When the asphalt is radiating heat and the thermals are lifting, the bullet drops differently. The wind pushes differently. The target, if it ever becomes a target, will be in a different envelope of physics. You prepare for all of it. You will not get a second shot. You will not get a ranging shot. You will get exactly one opportunity, and it will come, if it comes, with zero notice. At 5:30, the sun begins to lift over the Estrellas. The city starts to wake up. Garbage trucks, Commuters. The first joggers on the canal trail. You watch all of it through the scope. Not because any of them are threats, because patterns matter. You need to know what normal looks like on this stretch of road before you can spot what abnormal looks like. A man who stops at the same intersection every morning at 5:47 is normal. A man who stops at that intersection for the first time tomorrow and lingers is a problem. You're building a map of normal in your head, and you have a little over a day to finish it. The advance team has already done most of this work. They've been here for 9 days. They've cataloged every building along the route. They've interviewed the manager of every ground floor business. They pulled the sex offender registry for a 2 miles radius and cross-referenced it with the list of people who've purchased a firearm in the last 60 days. They've reviewed mental health holds from the county psychiatric hospital for the last 18 months. They've looked at social media. They've looked at protest permits. They've looked at everything. But paper is paper. You need eyes. You need someone who has held a rifle for long enough to know what a rifleman looks like when he's not holding one. That's part of why you're here. Threat recognition. The human on the sidewalk who is carrying a weapon the wrong way. The car that circles the block 3 times without parking. The window that was closed yesterday and is open today and has no one visible behind it. You will see things the cameras don't see because you're looking for a specific pattern. The pattern of someone like you. At 7:12 a.m. Your radio chirps once. Command post. Status check. Your spotter presses his transmit button and says 2 words. Green set. It means everything is normal. It means the hide is secure. It means you have eyes on the zone. He releases the button. No response comes back. There doesn't need to be one. The command post notes the check-in and moves to the next team. There are 6 sniper teams like yours deployed around Phoenix right now. You don't know where the other 5 are. That's intentional. If you're compromised, you can't compromise them. You eat a bar. You drink water through a hydration tube. You do not leave the hide for any reason. There's a bottle for urine. There's a bag for anything else. This is not the glamorous part of the job. Nobody puts this in a movie. But this is 90% of what you do. You sit. You wait. You watch. You do not get tired because getting tired is how mistakes happen. And mistakes here are measured in dead presidents and ruined careers and constitutional crises that would take a generation to recover from. You stay alert through discipline, through training, through something closer to religion than anyone in your life understands. At noon on day 1, the sun is directly overhead. The temperature on the rooftop across the street reads 94 degrees on your spotter's instrument. The asphalt on the street below is hotter. You can see the heat shimmer rising off the pavement. This is going to be a nightmare for wind. Reading. Thermals in a city at midday create mirages that can move your point of impact inches at your distances. Inches matter. A headshot is maybe 4 inches of margin side to side. The president's head at 340 m through desert thermals is not a target you want to take if you have any other option. Your job, mostly, is to have another option. Your job is for it never to come to the shot. Most people don't understand this. They think a sniper is an aggressive tool. You're actually a deterrent. Your presence, the known fact that you are somewhere up high with optics, changes what an attacker is willing to attempt. A single shooter with a rifle in a van parked 400 yards out who plans to fire from the van window and drive away reconsiders everything the moment he realizes there are counter-snipers on the buildings because he can't see you. You can see him. The math of that encounter is not favorable for him. Most attempts on principles in the last 40 years have been close range, handgun, crowdline attempts precisely because the long-range envelope has been shut down by teams like yours. You are not there to fire. You were there so that no one tries. At 2:47 p.m. on day 1, you see something. 3rd floor window, building across the street, 2 buildings west of the podium site. A window that has been closed all day is now open about 4 inches. You watch it through the scope. You don't move your rifle. You don't reach for the radio. You just watch. 7 minutes pass. Nothing. Then a figure appears behind the window. A woman, probably in her 50s, wearing a cardigan. She opens the window the rest of the way, puts a small potted plant on the sill, steps back, disappears. You exhale. You tell your spotter. He makes a note. The open window is now normal for this location. That's what these hours are for. Building the map. At 4 p.m. The Secret Service advance team walks the route. 3 of them. You recognize one. He worked with you on a detail in Cincinnati 2 years ago. He doesn't look up. He knows better than to look up. If he looks up at your building, anyone watching him will learn that there is something on top of your building worth looking at. So, he keeps his eyes at ground level. He walks the podium site, checks the choke points, verifies the bollard placement. He walks a counter route, an alternate evacuation path. He looks at manhole covers. He looks at parked cars. He looks at storefront windows. He does his job. You do yours. At 8 p.m. The sun is down. The hide changes character at night. You've got thermal optics for the hours between sunset and sunrise. The city takes on a different texture through thermal. Hot bodies, hot cars, hot exhaust vents. The people walking home from work glow white against the cooling concrete. You can see a cat on a fire escape 7 blocks away. You can see a woman smoking on her balcony. You cannot see faces, but you can see movement patterns, and that's more useful anyway. Your spotter rotates out at 9 p.m. His replacement comes up the same stairs in the same coveralls and settles in beside you with the same silence. You don't rotate. You are the primary. The primary stays. The primary has built the muscle memory of this specific window, this specific range card, this specific firing solution. Replacing the primary mid-mission resets that. The spotters rotate because spotting is about endurance and attention. Primaries rotate only for multi-day assignments longer than 48 hours of continuous hide time. This is a 72-hour deployment, but most of your active hide time will happen in a 14-hour window tomorrow. You'll be fine. Around midnight, you allow yourself to think for a moment about the last time you took a shot. Not in training, in real life. It was in a valley in eastern Afghanistan 7 years ago, and the target was a man placing an improvised explosive device along a road that a logistics convoy was going to use at dawn. You took him at 680 m in a crosswind that made the shot difficult. You did not feel much about it at the time. You don't feel much about it now. That's the honest answer. The feelings came later. For the close ones, the ones where you made eye contact through the scope. This guy you never made eye contact with. He was bent over his work. He died doing it. Here, the math is different. Here, if you fire, it will be at an American on American soil, possibly a citizen, possibly someone who got hold of a rifle legally and decided, for whatever reason, that today was the day. That is a different psychological weight. You train for it. The service puts you through scenarios in a simulator where the target is every kind of person because the point is that the target doesn't matter. What matters is the threat behavior. A rifle coming up, a muzzle tracking toward your principal, a figure in a window with intent. You're not making judgments about the person. You are neutralizing a vector. That's the language they use in training. Vectors, not people. It helps. Not enough. Sometimes, but it helps. Dawn breaks on day 2. The temperature drops before it rises. A strange desert quirk. Your spotter notes a 3 degrees dip in the hour before sunrise. You update the ballistic solver. You run through your firing sequence in your head. Range 327 m to the podium, 344 m to the western edge of the rope line, 301 m to the eastern edge. You have 3 pre-calculated solutions loaded, 1 for each zone, with updated atmospheric corrections refreshing every 15 minutes. You can transition between them by thumbing a wheel on the scope. The time between identifying a threat and sending a round is something you've practiced to the point where it is automatic. Under 2 seconds from decision to impact at this distance, you will not have more than 2 seconds. You might have less. At 7 a.m., Phoenix PD shuts down the streets around the podium. The magnetometers get set up. The press risers go up. The advance team does a second walkthrough. The motorcade route has 3 separate variants, and the final selection won't be made until 11 minutes before the president rolls. You know, 2 of the 3 variants pass within your field of fire. The third does not. If they pick the third, you're overwatch for the podium only, not the motorcade. Either way, your hide is useful. You do not control the motorcade decision. A supervisor at the command post does. You trust him. You've worked with him before. At 10:15 a.m., crowd begins to form behind the rope lines. Several hundred people, families with kids, some protesters across the street. Sign waivers. Nothing tactical. You watch all of them. Through the scope, you learn faces. You cannot photograph them, but you remember them. A man in a blue windbreaker with a backpack he keeps shifting. A woman who keeps looking up at the buildings. An older man with a rolled newspaper tucked under his arm. None of these things are threats by themselves. They are data points. You note them to your spotter. He relays the descriptions to the command post. Agents on the ground will drift toward those individuals. Not confrontationally, just closer. A presence. A reminder. The blue windbreaker man turns out to be a camera Cruise audio tech with a dead battery. He's shifting the backpack because he's trying to reach a spare in a side pocket. Fine. The woman looking up at the buildings is a local reporter who knows damn well there are snipers on the rooftops and is trying to spot one for an article she's writing. She'll fail. You've been in this window for 33 hours, and her eyes skimmed past it 6 times without registering. The older man with the newspaper is a retired judge who comes to every political rally in Phoenix, regardless of party. He's known. Advance team cleared him yesterday at 11:43 a.m. The command post calls it Route Bravo. That's the middle variant. The motorcade comes down the street you're covering. You confirm with your spotter. He runs the numbers. Vehicle speed estimated at 35 to 40 miles per hour through your sector. Engagement window approximately 11 seconds if you count the full length of your field of fire. But the beast, the presidential limousine, is armored against anything you could realistically fire. And the motorcade itself is a rolling Faraday cage of countermeasures. Nobody is shooting the president through the limo. If a threat emerges during the motorcade phase, it will be against a support vehicle, against motorcyclists, or against the moment he steps out of the limousine at the stage. That last moment is the vulnerable one off the X. The service calls it the transition from hardened transport to soft podium. At 11:51 a.m., your radio goes hot. Motorcade departing. You see the lead car 7 blocks out, police motorcycles flanking, then the beast, the spare, the control car, the cat vehicle with the counter-assault team, the follow-up with press, the rest of the package. The procession moves at the pace it always moves, deliberate, unhurried, the kind of speed that telegraphs this is routine even when it isn't. You track the beast through the scope, not because you can shoot it, because if someone fires at it, you need to know where from. Your job has pivoted. Now from threat prevention to threat location. If a shot is fired, you are probably the closest asset with the optics and training to identify where it came from and, if necessary, to respond. The beast passes your sector in 14 seconds. No incident, no deviation. The motorcade continues toward the stage. You exhale. You're sweating despite the climate control in the closet. Your heart rate, per the monitor on your wrist, has climbed to 94 beats per minute. You bring it down deliberately. Box breathing. In 4. Hold 4. Out 4. Hold 4. Snipers do this. It's not mystical. It's just how you keep your cardiovascular system from betraying you at a critical moment. The president exits the limo at 11:59. You have eyes on. Your scope tracks him from the door to the podium, which is a distance of about 30 feet. Those 30 feet are the most dangerous 30 feet of his day. He is out from under the armor. He is exposed to elevation. He is moving at walking pace along a predictable line. Your field of fire covers the entire transit. You are not the only one. There are 2 other sniper teams with overlapping fields on this same walk. 3 shooters, 3 angles, 3 ballistic profiles. Any threat that emerges in those 30 feet has to survive 3 different firing solutions. It's not survivable. That's the design. He reaches the podium. He begins his remarks. You know the speech is scheduled for 9 minutes. You do not listen. You watch. The crowd, the windows, the rooftops, the vehicles idling on side streets. You have not moved your rifle from the podium in 6 minutes. Your eye is starting to strain. You blink. You refocus. Your spotter taps you lightly on the shoulder and points. West window, 4th floor, building adjacent to the parking structure. You pivot. You scan. A figure. Dark shirt. Behind curtains. You cannot see a weapon. You cannot see the face. You can see movement that is slightly too deliberate. You report. Your spotter is already on the radio. The command post responds in 4 seconds. Team Bravo 2 has eyes. They have a better angle. You don't. You hold. You do not take your scope off the west window. Every instinct in your body wants to keep your optics on the principal. But the principal has 3 other rifles watching him. The anomaly has only you and Bravo 2. 7 seconds pass. The figure moves. A hand appears at the curtain edge, and then a cell phone. The figure is filming the speech from his apartment window. The radio comes back. Cleared. Civilian. Advance team identifies the occupant as a 34-year-old unemployed accountant with no priors and no purchases of note. You return your scope to the podium. Your hands are shaking slightly. You steady them against the rifle and the bipod. The adrenaline metabolizes slowly. You will feel it in your legs for the next hour. The speech ends. The president waves. He moves back toward the limo. Those same 30 feet in reverse. You track every step. He is inside the armor. The door closes. The motorcade rolls. He is out of your sector in 18 seconds. Your job is not over. You stay in the hide. Post-event departure is historically as vulnerable as arrival. You hold position until the command post confirms the principal is airborne. That takes 47 more minutes. When the all-clear comes, you still don't move. You wait another 20 minutes. The extraction plan calls for you to break down the hide only after the sector has cooled, only after the crowds have dispersed, only after the press has finished its packing up, and the city has returned to its regular afternoon self. A man carrying a rifle case out of a downtown office building at the wrong moment gets noticed. So, you wait, you eat another bar, you drink water, your spotter packs up his scope, the rifle you will leave. A different team will retrieve it tonight or tomorrow or the next day. It is not your problem anymore. Your problem was the 72 hours you just finished. You leave the building in civilian clothes through a service entrance onto a side alley. A car picks you up. You don't drive it. The driver is another member of the team you've never met and will never see again. He takes you to a debrief location 12 miles from downtown. You spend 3 hours there. Every detail, every anomaly, every radio call, it goes into a record that will be reviewed by your team lead, by the Protective Intelligence Division, by the supervisory agents responsible for the detail. Lessons learned, pattern analysis. The accountant with the cell phone will go into a database. The retired judge with the newspaper will go into a database. The reporter trying to spot counter snipers from her car will go into a database. Next time a presidential visit hits Phoenix, this information will be preloaded into the advanced teams packet. You go home. You have a small apartment in a city that is in Washington because you don't want to live where you work. You take off your boots. You eat real food for the first time in 3 days. You sleep for 11 hours. When you wake up, you get a text. Next assignment. Another city. Another rooftop. Another 72 hours of watching a man you will never speak to do something that millions of people will see and that nobody will ever connect to you. You've been doing this for 6 years. You've been on more than 200 details. You have never fired your rifle on the job. That is the metric that matters, not the shots taken. The shots not needed. Every day that ends with a president walking back to the limousine under his own power is a day you won. Nobody will thank you. Nobody will know your name. The Secret Service does not give public commendations to the counter-sniper team. The stars on the wall at headquarters for agents killed in service do not include the snipers who prevent deaths that never happened because you cannot name a death that did not occur. You cannot say that on March 14 in Phoenix in 2026, a president did not die because of a man in a closet on the 34th floor of a building whose address is classified. But you know, your spotter knows, the supervisor at the command post knows, and somewhere in a climate-controlled archive in Maryland, there is a file that says on this date, this sector was covered by this team and nothing happened. Nothing happened. Those are the two most beautiful words in your profession. Nothing happened. That is the shape of a career well spent. That is the sound of a democracy that continues one more day because a few people in high windows watched very carefully and did not need to pull a trigger. You shower. You pack a bag. You check your gear. The next city is Tampa. The president is giving a speech at a veterans event in 40 hours. You'll be on the roof by 2 a.m. You don't mind. The rooftops are where you belong now. The rooftops are quiet. The rooftops give you a view of the country you swore to protect. A country that mostly does not know you. A country that is safer because of it. You zip your bag. You turn off the lights. You lock the door. You head out. Another 72 hours begins.